I would like to be considered for the role of Assistant Director of Sixth Form. I bring with me 10 years of experience as a Sixth Form tutor, and also 3 years of experience at the current school that I'm at as Assistant Director of Sixth Form. And I hope during this presentation to get across to you what I think is important about Sixth Form leadership, and also to address some of the priorities that have arisen through my dialogue with Miranda Dodd, who's currently Assistant Director of Sixth Form, having built up a working relationship with her over the last month or so. One of the things that was my first priority when I became Assistant Director of Sixth Form here was the tutor mentoring of Sixth Form students. What it felt to me like was that a lot of the time Sixth Form tutors were having conversations with their tutees, and that was fine, but they weren't very clear about what the outcome of that was supposed to be, and so obviously therefore neither was the student. And very often it would be a conversation and it wouldn't really go anywhere, it felt to me. I then was lucky enough to be at an INSET programme led by Stephen Oakes and Martin Griffin, where they put together, they presented the A-level mindset system that they had produced during the course of running a very successful Sixth Form in Oldham. And what this has provided for our tutors is instantly a toolkit both for identifying potential areas of underachievement, because it sets them out into this category. So as you're talking to the student, you're thinking about, okay, is this student underachieving because they don't know where they're going after A-levels, or is it to do with the fact that they're a bit disorganised in their systems? Is it something about their mindset and their attitude? So that structures the conversation from the off. But also, this system provides some really tangible, practical activities and things that the Sixth Form tutor can give to their tutees to do to address the problems that has arisen during the conversation. What I think is that the impact of that is that it has made those conversations much more focused and much more targeted, and the students can go away and do something tangible and come back and have another conversation with their tutor in a week or a month's time. And the tutor can very much more easily see whether or not that student has moved on. The other thing in the tutorial programme that I think has raised the bar for it, again, a lot of the time I think when I arrived with in the tutor sessions, we have 20-minute afternoon sessions, was that students would gather, everyone would have a bit of a chat, and it was quite informal, and there seemed to me a lot of wasted time. We introduced a structured tutor programme that involved things like this, TED Talks that really helped to make the whole atmosphere a lot more professional and a lot more focused. Talking to students, for example, not just watching things like the TED Talks, but talking to them about how they can use both quotes and ideas from the TED Talks for UCAS references, for example, and just generating higher level conversations and thought-provoking issues in that 20-minute slot. And they're ideal because of the timing of them. And related to that, maybe a little bit broader, the MOOCs, Massive Open Online Courses, that lots of the UK universities are developing now, free, and students can start them and dip in and out of them in their own time. And there's some really useful things that they can do with that. For example, Southampton University have developed a specific MOOC for supporting the EPQ. In terms of pastoral structure, another problem that seemed to me to be a bit of an issue when I arrived was lots of different people supporting mentoring interventions for students, and not that good communication perhaps between the various different interested parties that were trying to help the student. So we brought in a single shared Google Doc for a mentoring record, and shared that with the student and also subject teachers and pastoral team, tutor, etc. And that has really moved on the communication between all these parties and speeded everything up. Everybody can see what everyone else is doing and support each other. It makes it much more of a cohesive intervention rather than lots of different people working on their own in an individual sense. And in terms of maybe broadening that, that could perhaps be broadened to include parents as well as a key partner in supporting that student. And it may be that could be looked at as to share the Google Docs with them as well, so they can see what's going on and also help to support the student. One other thing that we tried that was interesting was to certain key points throughout Year 13 was to disband the normal tutor time, where each tutor group would gather 20 minutes, and instead use the tutor team for one-to-one mentoring, not necessarily just for their tutor group, but to allocate them to, as a subject specialist, mentoring key Year 13 students that we wanted to get to that were in danger of underachieving. And it was quite good just to mix it up and to get both the tutor team and also the Year 13 students out of their sort of normal comfort zone, if you like, and to really make the best possible use of what is ultimately about 2 hours a week when you add it all up. Curriculum design and development was that's something that is ongoing in the school. We've recently brought in an employability pathway for relatively low achieving students to make sure that they can access things. We focus very much on vocational skills, and they go out, for example, for a day a week for volunteering or work experience and get really practical skills. That's at one end. And then perhaps at the other end, a few years ago I brought in a further enrichment qualification called Global Perspectives and Research, which is quite high level, but it's got some very interesting assessed elements like the team project, where students identify a local problem that has some kind of global connotation, like water usage or disease control or global warming, something like that. And they have to go and research ideas as to how to address that issue and come back as a team and put together proposals. And then they present that individually, and that's actually part of the assessment. And I know a number of the Russell Group universities are particularly interested in that. They know that it's quite high level and it hits a lot of the high level research skills that they're interested in. In terms of higher education and progression, it seems to me that foundation degrees are increasingly a very interesting way of accessing the whole range of universities. Actually, you can accessing high level Russell Group universities if you haven't quite got the grades for that, but also mid-range universities if you've got relatively low grades at university. And also I was interested to look at this one from Nottingham University that was talking specifically about international students and foundation degrees and how having that extra year is good when students perhaps need to brush up and to get up to speed on undergraduate level English, and they get a chance to develop their language skills as well as develop the study skills so that they can properly access the university undergraduate degree. We've worked a lot with Oxford University here, Oxford Outreach. We've had them come here and run workshops. We've also taken students out to Oxford, and that seems to have worked well. Last year we had 2 Oxbridge students after a few years of one or none, so that seems to be gaining momentum, and that is something that certainly could be broadened out. There's Oxford International Outreach running Skype sessions for interested Oxbridge students and running Q&A sessions there. Particularly useful, and it's not just for Oxbridge. That kind of thing, although it's pitched at Oxbridge, would be good for any kind of Ivy League or Russell Group university. One of the things that I'm particularly interested in also is student voice. When again I'm utilising the Google software, use Google Forms for that, and it's just so quick to put together a Google form. That what you can do is take various snapshots throughout the year, and Google will pretty much instantaneously analyse the results for you, so you can very quickly see any patterns, any issues that are going on, and because it's so easy to do at quite a large scale, you can implement interventions, or we sometimes run focus groups to identify what it is that's going on in a particular problem. And then you can maybe do that in term 1, you identify an issue, focus group, and then you can really see the impact of it as you do the subsequent surveys in terms 3 and 5, etc. One of the things that came out of the student voice early on was the need to revamp the life skills programme here. students were very clear that they were less interested in the traditional PowerPoint and worksheet life skills session. They wanted events and hands-on experiences. So we brought in a lot of that. About 4 years ago, we started running annual question time events. So the first one we did, we had all the prospective MPs. There was an election coming up. We had a year 13 student chair it, and this one is a slightly later one. This was just before the EU referendum. So again, we had all the prospective MPs. We also had a representative from Vote Leave come in, and this is our year 13 student chairing that event. The young lady that did the first question time event actually then went on to work for the local Labour Party. So it has provided getting these professional people into the school has started up those contacts that has then led on to people getting access into the professional environment. All kinds of other external speakers and events that we've run. Had the Cambridge Union come in to run a debating workshop with our students. Another thing from Student Voice was students asking for money management education. So we had St James's Place Wealth Management come in. This one is first aid, and in the background there's a police officer talking about alcohol awareness. Cooking skills came out again from the Student Voice, and so rather than just running it in a traditional way, we did a sort of ready, steady cook competition between the different tutor groups, and it was a lot of fun, but also they were learning quite a few skills about budgeting and cooking along the way. Broadening that out a little bit, another thing that I'm particularly interested in is challenging received wisdom, challenging students' perceptions of what's normal and what the world is about, and trying to get them to question things all the time. So about 3 months ago, I contacted Kat Banyard from UK Feminista, and since then we've taken part in a national survey for them, and UK Feminista are also coming in to run some workshops about sexism in schools and part of things like the Everyday Sexism Project. And it's generated some really good conversations with students kind of looking at what's happening around them in a different way, which is exactly what I was hoping it would come out of that. Finally, I've been in charge of EPQ for the last 3 years. So I've developed a number of things to help support that. This was a Google site that has the basics of EPQ, but it also has an interactive calendar for telling the students what they need to be doing at a given time. Various resources such as a timeline, etc., and details of what to include in the control forms. We also took the students out to the University of Worcester to have a talk from the librarian there about research skills and about looking at journal articles and how to analyse them. And then they got a chance, obviously, to look at all of their database of journal articles and really build their research base for their EPQ projects. So those are my ideas. Hopefully, I've covered a number of key priorities for you as well. But they're the kind of things that I'm particularly interested in too. And I look forward to bringing them to Saints.